All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're going to deconstruct the ultimate athletic machine and try to find the deeply human heart beating underneath. Because, for over 2 decades, the footballing world has watched a player who honestly seems less like a man and more like a cyborg, literally built in a lab to score goals. But we're going to look past the records, past the trophies, and past those crazy physical stats to understand the real architecture behind his success. And it starts with a pretty wild paradox. On one hand, you have this indestructible physical specimen, a guy famous for just absolute unyielding strength. But then, he's constantly breaking down in tears in front of billions of people. So why does a man who has built an absolute fortress of muscle and discipline so frequently show us such profound emotional fragility out there on the pitch?
When you track his career, from his teenage years right up to his veteran milestones, raw, unfiltered emotion has been the defining symptom of his whole journey. Think about the shock defeat to Greece in 2004 when he was just 19, or that agonizing mix of relief and intense pressure after he missed a penalty in the 2008 Champions League final. Then there's the devastating World Cup exit against Morocco in 2022, and of course the sheer overwhelming joy of dropping to his knees after scoring his 900th career goal in 2024. The tears are always there.
Part 1. Escaping an island of poverty. To truly understand those tears, we've got to peel back the layers and travel to his roots in Madeira. Because look, tourists go to Madeira and see this beautiful, idyllic island, right? But the Avera family lived a totally different, grueling reality. They were crammed into a tiny home in a working-class neighborhood. His mom, Maria Dolores, worked exhausting hours as a cook and a cleaner just to feed her 4 kids. She would often skip meals herself just so they could eat. It wasn't a vacation, it was an environment of pure daily survival.
So he's really shaped by 2 completely contrasting forces. On one side, you have his mom, an absolute survivor who spent part of her own childhood in an orphanage. She was under so much financial strain, she famously even considered ending her pregnancy with Cristiano. She represents relentless resilience. On the other side, his dad, Jose Diniz, was trapped in this tragic, inescapable despair. These 2 opposite poles, fierce survival and deep family trauma, basically became the foundation of Cristiano's entire worldview.
12. That's how old he was when he made the heartbreaking choice to leave his family and move to the Sporting Lisbon Academy. Just 12 years old. He had to pack up, leave his island for the mainland, face intense competition, battle crushing homesickness, and somehow carried the massive weight of being his family's one ticket out of poverty.
Part 2. A father's tragic legacy. Now, let's move into a darker chapter to see how his dad's past created a psychological forge for the young player.
His father was, tragically, a broken soldier. Jose Diniz was drafted to fight in Portugal's colonial wars in Angola and Mozambique, and the conditions were just horrific. We're talking starvation, malaria, and river water so toxic the soldiers literally survived by drinking warm kuka beer instead. After 13 months of that nightmare, he returns to a Portugal that's crippled by an economic crash. He was a deeply traumatized guy who turned to alcohol to cope with a world where there was no money and no jobs.
Eventually, to make ends meet, his dad took a job as a kit man for Ronaldo's local youth club, washing the shirts and sweeping the dressing rooms. And kids being kids, young Cristiano was relentlessly mocked by his teammates because of his dad's job. But, and this is absolutely crucial, the bullying didn't break him. Actually, it did the exact opposite. It gave him an insatiable hunger to become completely indestructible. He was going to prove to everyone that he was better than his circumstances.
51. That's the incredibly young age his father died from liver failure in London back in 2005. And the tragic timing of it? It happened right as Ronaldo's star was rapidly rising at Manchester United. He had promised his dad he'd become the best player in the world, but his father never got to see the staggering heights he actually reached. He once made this heartbreaking admission to Piers Morgan. He said, "To be the number 1 and he don't see nothing and he don't see to receive awards, to see what I became. You can just feel the grief there." Every time he looks at his 5 Ballon d'Ors or his Champions League medals, there's this lingering shadow. The success is literally monumental, but the one person he most wanted to prove himself to isn't there to witness it.
Part 3. Forging the perfect athlete. So, how do you handle that kind of trauma? Let's explore how he channeled all of it into building a literal suit of armor. He didn't just decide to hit the gym, he executed this highly calculated long-term physical strategy. Coaches who worked with him, like Mick Clegg at Man United, say he was totally unique. Even as a teenager, he knew he needed a long-term plan. He obsessively mastered his technique,
built a massive network of elite coaches, and committed to the mind-numbing daily consistency that most people just can't handle, all to make sure his career would outlast everyone else's.
Just compare that to his former teammate, Wayne Rooney. It really proves that Ronaldo's longevity isn't just genetic luck, it's a relentless daily choice. Rooney had an amazing career based mostly on unbelievable natural talent, but he famously didn't care much for the physical prep side of things, which led to a much earlier decline. Ronaldo, meanwhile, made his body his absolute ultimate priority.
So you see, the physical perfection, it's not about vanity. It's a survival mechanism. He built a physical armor of muscle and discipline to protect the vulnerable little boy from Adara. By controlling every single aspect of his fitness, his diet, and his training, he's ensuring that the helplessness and poverty he felt as a kid can never, ever touch him again.
Part 4. Fulfilling the ultimate promise. And now we arrive at the climax of his international career, where the trauma, the training, and the emotion all violently collide on the biggest stage possible.
The Euro 2016 final. Just 8 minutes in, he gets a knee injury. The machine is broken. He's stretchered off, sobbing, with that famous silver moth landing on his face for all the world to see. But his willpower? Untouchable. He refuses to go down the tunnel. With a heavily strapped knee, he's practically co-managing from the touchline, barking orders in sheer pain until Eder scores that unlikely extra-time winner to secure the impossible victory for Portugal. And in that moment, holding the trophy he promised to his late father, the arrogant superstar totally dissolved. He said, "It was not the final I wanted, but I am very happy. It is a trophy for all the Portuguese." Without even playing most of the match, he delivered the ultimate prize to his nation, proving his impact was way bigger than just kicking a ball. It's a beautifully circular emotional journey. He starts out crying in defeat and learns to cry in victorious validation. From the shattered teenager in 2004, to the touchline manager shedding tears of joy in 2016, to the veteran weeping after his 900th goal in 2024. The tears never stopped, they just changed their meaning. So, what should we really take away from this explainer? It's that Cristiano Ronaldo didn't conquer the football world in spite of his emotional fragility, he conquered it entirely because of it. The trauma of his past and the vulnerability he literally never bothered to hide, that's what fueled the greatest footballing machine in history. So I'll leave you with this to ponder. If we strip away all the goals and all the glory, is his greatest legacy actually showing us that true invincibility requires a willingness to let the whole world see you cry?